It's our EkoPoly player of the game. We're going Mekhi Muse. Now, if you don't know who that is, that's perfectly adequate and understandable. He's a walk-on from Central Gwinnett, and he really, burst the game open when he had a 54-yard pass from Carson Beck, took it to the house. That was his third reception of the game. He had 71 yards, almost all of them, by the way, on that. 71 of his yards were after the catch, and he showed you just what he can do. Um, when he was out there, that exploded the play. It was the most explosive play that Georgia had last night. And I think that it wasn't just that. I mean, he almost got it going on a kick return, a 31-yard kick return, and two punt returns totaling 19 yards, which, an 8-yard average, well, almost a 10-yard average is pretty good in punt return these days. 10 yards, 10 free yards, for lack of a better term. So I thought he was really good. Let me see how many total touches. So that would be 6 total touches. Now I'm going to have to do math, which is, I can do it, but I did go to school in DeKalb County, so that can be challenging at times. And it's 75. So he had 125 total yards on 6 touches. That's 21 yards a touch. And, he totally just, when you're not using scholarship guys and you get that kind of production, when you're getting that kind of production from a scholarship guy, that's a pretty amazing, moment, I guess, or you want that kind of production from your players. And, I think Muse will be out there a lot during special teams, but I think when you see the return of sort of the starting receivers, I'm not as sure you're going to see him out there as much. But what he did that right there was very similar to what Lavakaki, does and has done for a long, long time. Still getting used to the fact that we are in football season. It doesn't sneak up on me, but I do get tired by the time it's over. I got a little bit more sun yesterday than I thought I had, but I thought, I kind of looked at something. I think Georgia played maybe a little bit better than his fans are gonna say or admit. You really can't win with these types of games. When Georgia plays Vanderbilt or certainly any next week against Ball State or even UAB. I mean, maybe the UAB game will be halfway complicated, but I don't think Georgia played as bad as the reaction has been from Georgia fans. Nationally, no one pays attention to these games. They don't watch these games, y'all. They do not watch these games, and that's on them. But that's how you sort of come up with these lopsided situations. This could be your view. What if you had this view? Anyway, this is one of the items that EkoPoly's got out there for you. This is what we have in that one video. We're going to get back to showing it in the backyard soon. But, this is a great option. We used it last night. I'm not even joking. We used it last night when we were cooking out. We got it. We didn't get back, unfortunately. We did not get back from the game until, very late. We didn't get back to the house on the east side until, I don't know, it's probably more like 11:30 or midnight. And I thought we'd be eating at 11, and I was not pleased with that entire situation. But we used EkoPoly's table there. It's just so well made. 20 year warranty, well made, obviously made in Georgia, manufacturing in Georgia, and Eastman down in middle Georgia. And but we used it last night, and we're just talking about the game. I mean, I think our setup at Dog Post. One of these days, I'll show it to everybody, but right now, maybe not. We have 3 TVs set up, and so we consume a lot of games at once. And with the truth is that the best time for us to watch games and consume games is the 3:30 slot. We can watch sort of the first half of the noon games. We can watch the last half of the night games. The 6 o'clock really messed us up on that front. And we got to watch a lot of Tennessee. And that's where I was going with this ramble is, Georgia And I wrote about this in Leggy's Thoughts. Georgia was not dissimilar from all of the other teams, that the sort of high-powered teams that are out there in college football right now. It was not a great look for Tennessee. This is Brock Bowers scoring that touchdown. Good shot from Ryan Curley. It was not, an unbelievable, day for the high-powered teams. I think USC played better, generally speaking. Notre Dame played good. Notre Dame should probably be a top 10 team at this point. But here's the drive chart right here. This is one of the things that we talk about over on Dog Post. Sort of this in-depth stuff where we do a lot of, discussion of things. But this was a drive chart for Carson Beck. So after the first 3 and out. So they went touchdown, punt. So 2 out of the first 3 were 3 and outs. That was not good. But they scored touchdowns on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their drives were touchdowns. Now, that's really actually pretty good production for a team that is wanting to score 40-ish points a game, and through 3 quarters, you're scoring 31 points, and you're not playing your starter in the fourth quarter. I think it could have been one reason why Muse is our EkoPoly player of the game is because of that one play. Now, he is going to bust open some special teams plays. That is going to happen. And what he did was last night, is not abnormal. I mean, it's abnormal. It's something that we've been talking about, on Dog Post. And right down here, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to highlight this right now. This is one thing that we talked about. This was written on the 30th, which was what? Wednesday? Here's the quote. It says, the 3 players Dog Post is telling its members to keep an eye on over the next 30 games, so the next 2 seasons. Dominic Lovett, C.J. Allen, and Warren Brinson. I did not say Muse. That was the one before this. Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassing myself. Well, I'm not going to go backwards and search this out because I don't do it by the day now suddenly anymore. But it's not. And then you saw what the game that CJ had. I mean, he had a very good, productive game playing at linebacker. That was the guy that Kirby said played so well last night. But I thought with Muse, he was a guy that, we heard a lot of. Oh, let me get back to this. Sorry about that. He was a guy that we heard a lot about coming into this season. He was a person that, when you're not a scholarship guy, people do get kind of curious about, oh man, this guy's making plays. But like one person in particular that I talked to that was at some of the closed things, the closed scrimmages, is that he was just so, impressive. Who is number 87? I think, was the question. And it was him. I mean, he had a very productive. Yeah, right here. Here we go. Sorry. So I misspoke when I said what we were hearing it was. It was this one on August 16th, so more in the middle of the season. Another player is going to contribute this is Muse, as well as Oscar Delp. They both scored both scored touchdowns yesterday. So that's sort of the value of Dog Post is you're gonna read about it, hear about it, see about it beforehand. Matt's got some stuff on Dylan Raiola, who was also at the game yesterday, coming up soon. But I thought Muse, that was that sort of explosion that's not new. Like he did that the whole run up through camp and all that stuff. I mean, he had a very good camp. I don't know that he'll be the EkoPoly player of the game every single week. But when you go, like I said, however many yards it was, 120-ish, whatever it was, on 6 touches, 20-something, 21 yards a touch, that's really good production. It's not Travis Hunter at Colorado, but it was really good production for him. I want to say this too, because I know we do obviously quite a bit of videos. Make sure you're signing up for our newsletter. Make sure you're checking out EkoPoly and Red Zone. But we're here to tell y'all the truth as we see it. We're going to cover these things as much as possible. The truth as I see it right now is there's a lot of hand wringing at Georgia from fans. Twitter, message boards. I don't know why message boards are so negatively discussed. From it's a great example of mainstream media, if that even exists anymore. Just sort of looking down on the common fan. But I don't know. Well, Georgia's in as good a position to win the national championship as they were coming into the game. I mean, I think Alabama looked good Saturday. I'm not sure anybody else really looked good. Like if you sat there and watched their entire game, Alabama was balanced and so forth. But there are real questions about the quarterback situation at Alabama. I don't think there is with Carson Beck. I think Carson was not accurate in the first quarter the way that he typically is, and that affected Georgia, which is what happens when your quarterback is not accurate. It's not exclusive to Carson. When he nails dials it in, nails it down, this is going to be a scary offense. They hobbled their way to 41 points. I want to see better production in the run game. One thing I did want to, the post-mortem on this as well was one of the quotes from Jason Simpson about their strategy was what they were trying to do. And I talked about this on the field, I know, but I think I said it after the fact. They were not going to let Georgia run. And here's what he said. Georgia's two-dimensional. We loaded up trying to stop the run, and they threw for 400 yards against us. That's a good thing. 30 rushes for 159 yards against them. 26 for 40 for 400 yards. That's where the game got away from us a little bit. And he's exactly right. And that we're going to see when you have the return of one more running back in Edwards, and you have the return of, this is to me a little bit more important, when you have the return of the receivers that you're really looking for, when you've got Marcus Robinson-Saint not sitting out a game for internal reasons, whatever that was, when you've got Ladd McConkey out there the entire time, when they're not limiting throws to Brock Bowers, what is that going to be like for Georgia? They needed to play better offensively than they did with what they had. Okay? Don't confuse my explanation for an excuse. But I think it really feels like some of y'all have never competed or played a sport in your entire life. Sometimes when I see criticism of things, you're going to have days where you don't shoot well in basketball, where you don't play well, whatever that may be, whatever stroke that is in tennis or golf or football. Quarterbacks are going to have situational things where they don't do well. And I think that was definitely the case with Georgia's offense for a limited amount of time. Carson Beck, to me, is clearly the starting quarterback, and it was pretty easy to see why, because of the way that he played. It just wasn't perfect, and it's not a reactionary thing. When I get mad at my wife, I don't immediately file for divorce. So that's kind of the way I look at it. But, if she's fooling around on me currently, or, abusive or things like that, that's different. Well, that's not where we're at with the situation in Georgia. They've got a very productive relationship and situation, scoring 41 points on offense. They stole 7 points on defense. They're allowed to create more turnovers on defense, and they need to do that. That was one thing that Kirby was kind of frustrated by. But I thought it was a really good day, but nobody had a better day in our mind than Mekhi Muse. He is our EkoPoly player of the game. Congratulations.